What up, Claytriates? It's your boy, Technically Clay, streaming at you from sunny, lovely St. Louis, Missouri. How are you doing this fine day? I hope you are having a wonderful day. I'm having a great day, and I hope you are too. Since the last time you saw me, I did just the same old, same old. I played Slay the Spire. I played, or I watched Stargate with my wife. And... Or actually, no, I think I watched more YouTube yesterday, now that I think about it. And then I watched some Stargate, actually. But yeah, and then went to sleep, woke up, went to work, didn't do any, I mean, you know, I did, it was an easy day at work, let's say that. It's a half day. And then I came here to be with you, the viewer. Hello. We're already here. That's right. I did absolutely nothing. It was a very boring yesterday evening to this morning, but I figured I said I was going to start around noon today, but I decided to start just right after work. I was going to try to get my workout in before I came here, but I just couldn't wait. I had to see you guys. I had to see every single person out there. So here we are. Today is a casual Friday. I mean, generally speaking, when I put the casual Friday in the title, it's not super consistent because it usually ends up just being just my normal stream. But usually what I plan to do is I plan to do some of the news, like start off with some of the news, and then hopefully get to more just like fun, silly stuff or whatever afterwards. A lot of times I don't end up making it there because the news just keeps me too preoccupied, and I don't know, I guess my brain somehow has convinced me that news is fun, like, I guess, as opposed to the fun stuff I can't stop. But yeah, so anyway, we'll hopefully get to some fun stuff this time. That's my plan. I want to get to some fun stuff. I think I have some good, you know, not serious stuff that we can get to on this playlist, you know, when the time is right. But first things first, I gotta start with, you know it, you love it, Iran.
Breaking overnight.
We're gonna start with this video on CNN, and we are going to see what's going on. So last time I know that America had, or potentially America or another country had shot on I think some locations in Iran, or some tankers, so some Iranian tankers, and then they were repelled by Iran, I think, is the last time we heard from yesterday evening. So as of now, I think that they're basically like, the ceasefire is basically done. I mean, Trump is still saying that the ceasefire is on, but I think both Iran and America are now just kind of firing on each other. You know, so we'll see what they say in this video. We'll try and figure out what exactly is going on here. Hopefully we'll get some good information, and
overnight,
and hopefully I can help translate you know, America propaganda to like normal speak, like I usually try to like reality. I try to take American propaganda and I try to transform those words into reality. It's a hard job. It's a hard job that I have here, but I do my best. So let's go ahead and see what's going on.
United Arab Emirates says they are dealing with incoming missiles at the hands of Iran. Saudi Arabia is calling for de-escalation across the region after the United States says Iran targeted 3 American guided missile destroyers.
Okay, so UAE was hit. That was the original thing that Iran hit as a retaliation for America's Operation like Epic Freedom, or whatever it was called. And so UAE was hit. Iran either hit them, or I've heard also compelling arguments that Saudi Arabia hit them as a punishment for leaving OPEC. And I've also heard compelling arguments that Israel hit them in order to try to heat up the war again, to try to draw America back in, like further into the quagmire. So there's lots of things that could have been going on there. I'm leaning towards Iran personally was the one who did it, but like I said, I've heard some compelling arguments for both Israel and Saudi Arabia hitting them.
The state says Iran targeted 3 American guided missile destroyers as they transited the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. forces then hit a number of Iranian military facilities in response. President Trump says it is just a trifle and that the back and forth is just a love tap.
Okay. Well, love that. Okay. So it sounds like, things are just heating up again. America is, I guess, sending Navy ships. Are they sending them through entirely, or they must be just sending them closer by? And Iran was obviously going to start firing on those ships, because that is, a direct, like, they're at war. Like, you don't want, Navy ships just like military ships just coming up to your coastline or whatever. So Iran is firing on them, and America is responding as well. Oh, but the Chiron says Trump says ceasefire still in effect as U.S.-Iran trade fire. So words, what do they mean anymore?
They trifled with us today. We blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle. I'll let you know when there's no ceasefire. You won't have to know. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran. And they better sign their agreement fast.
Man, dude, the problem with Trump is that he just keeps saying the same thing over and over again. And it's all like, it's this fake machismo, fake bravado that only the dumbest of dumb people like actually buy into. Like if you at this point in the war are still believing his, like, we are going to rain fire and fury on them, like he says every single time, I think he said it like at least once a week for the past 8 weeks. He has made this exact same threat. And Iran is still winning the war. So, like, if you still buy it, like, I don't know what to tell you. You might be a dum-dum.
With us now is Congressman Pete Aguilar from California. He's the third-ranking Democrat in the House. And, Congressman, we did just get a bit of breaking news. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who's in Italy, says he expects a response from the Iranians today on whatever this current peace proposal is. Generally,
it was yesterday. They extended it. Okay.
Speaking, how much progress?
Because like Iran, I don't think is any hurry to like sign some sort of like peace proposal. So that, like, they may have just said, no, we're not going to go. It's probably like, I would guess that Iran may sit on this peace proposal for even longer now, just because America is engaging in some of these acts against them.
Do you see?
I think what the American people see is they see a war of choice. They see skyrocketing gas prices. True. They see a president who will go on TV and say whatever he needs to do to try to quell the crude market. They see rising costs that they're facing. 13 casualties through this war, hundreds more injured, billions of dollars have expended, and the administration has failed to articulate what their goals and objectives are. So that's what we see, and that's what the American people feel.
I should know gas prices.
Well, they have articulated some goals. It's just the goals just keep shifting anytime they're unable to accomplish them. So. Because it started with regime change, right? That was the original goal. And, like, let's be real. The real goal was to destabilize Iran for the nation state of Israel. That was the real goal. They failed to do that. And so it turned into, we're going to blow up every speck of gunpowder that exists on the nation state of Iran. And then they're like, okay, well, we can't. It turns out we can't do that. So then they're like, the goal is actually to open up the Strait of Hormuz, which was open before, but okay. Then they realized they couldn't do that. So then they're like, actually the goal is the nuclear. We want to get a new nuclear deal with them, the JCPOA 2.0. And it's like, okay, you didn't have to do all this to get a new nuclear deal. Iran offered you an incredible deal at the very beginning. So when it comes to like from an American imperial perspective, I mean, of like when it comes to like not allowing them to enrich nuclear material, like in a way that they could break away to the bomb or to a bomb. That was always a fake reason in and of itself. For like, because like even back when the original JCPOA was signed, like Iran had no desire to get a nuclear bomb. Iran has never had a desire to get a nuclear bomb. They just wanted sanctions relief, and America just wanted to sanction them to destabilize them. And the nuclear issue was always just a like an excuse to do that, just like the nuclear issue right now is an excuse to go into war, and also the solution to the war, because it's not a real thing. It's just, Iran could either be seconds away from a bomb, or we have completely obliterated them and they're decades away. It's both at the same time when it comes to Trump. Whichever one fits the current narrative that he needs, that's what he's gonna say. Down
a cent last night. They're still up over a quarter from last week, over 25 cents from last week,
and $1.50 since it started.
And $1.50 since the war began. But do you see progress? Do you feel as if it could be winding down?
It's hard to know, because the administration says there's a ceasefire, yet we're still engaging in that. It's just their effort to evade oversight and accountability with the War Powers Act that Marco Rubio says is unconstitutional now, even though as a senator he felt a different way. So that's the difficulty that we see. It's tough to know what progress is, because the administration hasn't articulated to the American people what the clear objectives and what the end game is. What does the president want to see out of this war?
So it is in an escalatory position right now. I believe that there's potentially more ships being sent out there or something. I thought I heard that from someone. I'd have to double check that. But again, it does feel like Trump really doesn't want to actually commit to what would be necessary to accomplish like the real goals of the war or whatever, of destabilizing the regime, which would involve a full military occupation, which he doesn't want to do that. Also, like I keep reminding people, the reason that I'm starting to lean towards he might actually want to get out of this war, like for real, is that the Beijing summit is coming up, which I do think is a problem for him. It would be incredibly embarrassing for him if he was in a hot war again and had to reschedule this Beijing summit again, and that's in like a week. So there is a possibility that if anything, he might try to get some sort of like temporary, like the framework of the deal that they had, or that he put on the table, where it's like a 30-day negotiation period. He might try that might be something that he does, and he might accede at least temporarily to the Iranians that we will negotiate on sanctions relief, or we will negotiate on these other things or something. But it is hard, because it is escalating right now, and sometimes when things start escalating, they go out of control, and you can't stop that anyway. So,
or when will it end? When can we see relief? That's on the president, and he's failed to do that.
Oil prices are, there we go. You can see Brent crude up a tick. West Texas basically flat. This is after U.S. and Iranian.
This is still too low, by the way. It should be way higher than this, given the actual reality of the the shortages that are happening. Like, the shortages are just now starting to hit. This should probably be at like 130, 140.
Forces exchanged fire yesterday. The UAE says it's dealing with incoming missiles. The oil, not a big move, frankly, with all the activity of the last 24 hours, indicating maybe the oil traders did not see it escalating further. With us now, CNN national and political analyst David Sanger. He's also a White House correspondent for the New York Times. Also here, former major staff director for the House Intelligence Committee, Michael Allen. David, I just want to start with you on the situation we've seen over the last 24 hours. We've seen U.S. strikes, right, on Iranian targets here and here in the Gulf. And we've seen, really, overnight, the UAE saying they're dealing with incoming missiles somewhere off the coast here. This doesn't feel much like a ceasefire with all the firing.
It sure doesn't. And, John, you heard the president last night say that it was just a trifle at one point. He said the U.S. response, which was somewhat vigorous when the Iranians attacked, understandably, was just a love tap. He is doing everything that he can to keep some kind of an agreement from going off the rails. And the reason's pretty clear. not only is this now gone on for 10 weeks or so, but he leaves on Tuesday to go to China. And China's really, that trip
Tuesday.
has really been the bookmark for him for what he hoped would be the end of the war. He wanted to show up there, having vanquished the Iranians, gotten them to give up their nuclear program, and of course, reopen the strait, which supplies 30% or so of all the oil and gas.
Yeah, in fact, because so this has already been rescheduled. Like it was supposed to be about a month ago, and he was, because this is one of the biggest indicators that he was expecting this to be really easy. Like he was expecting this to be just like Venezuela. Is that he had this Beijing summit set up, and the plan, my assessment of the plan was to go in, decimate Iran, like, and topple their regime, and then install whatever American puppet, like, government in there, or like American sympathizer, like Shaw type person or whatever that they want in there, and then go to China and be like, see, look what we did to your oil, or like your, oil imports from Venezuela, and because Venezuela was like the launch pad of China into like economic developments in Latin America, essentially, right? They were going through a lot through Venezuela to kind of make connections and inroads in Latin America. So Trump was planning to go to Beijing and be like, look what we did to your boys in Venezuela, and then be like, look what we did to your boys in Iran. But his idiocy just means that he was unable to understand the cards that Iran actually had to play, and was not expecting Iran to be this formidable. So that's kind of like my assessment for how this all kind of started. That's another reason, along with obviously the Israel desire for this war at this point in time. All of it kind of like led together, or like blended together, but yeah, so this is incredibly embarrassing from an American perspective, especially going into negotiations with China. Beijing still wants stability. That's their core goal, is they want stability. So they want this to be over, and to some extent they may influence Iran in one direction or another, but that doesn't change the fact, though, that they, like, China is in a much better strategic position now that America has kind of just showed its ass to the world and like failed so spectacularly in one of its acts of adventurism. Because I don't think in human history, or like in U.S. history, has America failed this badly in a war. I'm trying to think right now, and yes, we failed in wars from a strategic perspective, like from Korea to Vietnam to Iraq to Afghanistan. Like we lost all of those wars, sure. But they took a long period of time, and people weren't questioning the might of the American empire after them. People still believed, yes, America may have lost this asymmetric conflict, like those asymmetric conflicts, but America is still incredibly powerful and was able to, militarily dominate these countries, at least for the time that they were engaged in their war with them. This is a completely different situation where America has just been unable to do anything to Iran, really, like unable to accomplish any strategic, even temporary strategic goals with them. So yeah, I don't know. I think that Trump is kind of screwed, I think, when it comes to this Beijing summit. Even if he gets some sort of like temporary peace proposal for 30 days while they negotiate or whatever, I think he's going to be kind of screwed when it comes to talking with Beijing.
Flowing into to China. He's going to show up right now, at least on current evidence, unless things turn in the next few days, with none of that accomplished.
Look, Michael, let me just ask you, since David brought it up, the president is going to China on this visit. How do the Chinese view the United States and view this situation now? David's paper, the New York Times, had a great headline today, basically quoting a Chinese official saying they see the U.S. as a superpower with a limp.
Yeah, I think the Chinese are probably looking at us struggle a bit and are wondering what the United States' plan is to get out of this. You know, I agree with what David said. I think the president is going out of his way to make sure that hostilities don't resume in a large way. Of course, there's some that they define as under the threshold. But honestly, I don't see how the president gets Iran to even discuss.
Trust me, China is smart. Okay, the people at the top of the Chinese government, and the officials, the Politburo, like all of the people who are like making the big decisions for China, they are intelligent. Okay. Unlike ours, I would say we allow like our stupid, like our medically stupid people into the realms of power. Our 85-year-old, pedo billionaires to run the show in our country. And most of them are, incredibly dumb and incredibly stupid. China, they put actual smart people in charge. So China very much understands what is happening with America right now. Anybody who has even read, history and like read about empires in the past, like understands what is happening with America right now, that America is a dying empire that is lashing out at its inability to affect the change in the world that it wants to, right? This is very obvious to anybody who is like remotely interested in, the history of nation states and geopolitics. Even me, who I haven't read a ton about it, but I have like learned secondhand through a lot of shows and stuff, like a lot of and like YouTube videos and whatnot, a lot of stuff about how these empires rise and fall, and what the end state of empires usually looks like. Newsflash, it looks like what we're seeing right now. So China understands all of this. They know what America is doing. Their problem, but the problem that I always have with China is they're very hesitant, and they're very they don't want to take any risks whatsoever. It might be a good strategic decision from their perspective, but it's not always the moral decision. I think China should put a lot more pressure on America in this particular circumstance to accede to the Iranian demands. I think that China should put more pressure on Israel as well, like through America, by saying you better rein in Israel, or else we're going to, cut off XYZ. Like, we're going to stop shipping these exports to you or whatever. Right. I think China really should start flexing their geopolitical muscle a little bit more, just for the good of the world. But they're so cautious that I don't think, I think that they will try to find a neutral balance between America and Iran in this particular circumstance, like they always do.
Discuss meaningful compromises unless he holds out the credible use of force and restores the safe passage mission that successfully got 2 ships through the straits earlier this week. It wasn't without cost, and it would still be a great risk, but it was the first direct attempt to negate the Iranian leverage that they have over us and the world by controlling the straits. And I think ultimately that's going to be the only way out of this.
David Michael there is talking about this operation called Project Freedom, which was designed to get, vessels out of the straits. A grand total of 2 were able to pass through there. But the costs seem to have been, and we're just learning this over the last 24 hours, David, a diplomatic rift with Saudi Arabia and with Kuwait, which didn't want any part of it. What does that tell you? Now, apparently, they're more amenable to the whole idea, but the fact that they didn't have them on board at the beginning, David, where does that leave things?
Well, the first thing it tells you is that the administration is having a hard time learning the lessons from even the beginning of this war. You'll remember that the Saudis and the UAE were not given notice about when the war was going to begin. And the next thing they knew, the Iranians were taking it out on them, right? Launching missiles at their sites and their bases and their oil fields or oil production facilities. So he started in on this Project Freedom, which, as Michael says, is a much needed effort to get this open. But
this could also be expanded to how he, didn't get any of the world as well on board for this war, or even America on board for this war. He is acting like somewhat unilaterally, right? without ever doing the, the propaganda efforts that are necessary to uphold and maintain the war effort. He refused to do all of that. He refused to go to our allies and try to get them on board. And so this is just a huge mistake from Trump's perspective. It's so I always think it's so funny that like they think that like those efforts were like I don't know, like stupid and like, oh, who cares about the, like, oh, that's woke to try and get people on board for the war, to go to the UN, we're just gonna do it. It's like, dude, the reason that people do that shit is to be able to uphold the war effort. Like the reason that people engage in propaganda like is like for instance, like saying that it's like this is for the good of the Iranian people, or we're doing we're doing nation building, or we're going to build a democratic Iran or whatever, right? The reason people engage in those efforts is not because they're trying to be woke or actually help them. It's to uphold the war effort, and he didn't do that as well. So this is like a problem with Trump at every step of the way, is that he never gets buy-in from third parties to actually engage in the acts that he does. And to some extent, he's allowed to get away with it because he has the, American military behind him. And what are they going to do, right? But that only works for so long. Eventually, people get tired of a unilateral actor doing things that are bad for their country without consulting them at all, if they're supposed to be like an ally. Yeah.
But again, didn't do full consultation, it appears, on what this would be, how they might all participate, certainly how they'd prepare for it. And all of a sudden, they pulled the plug on it. And the president came up with another excuse for halting it. Those two ships, just to put it in perspective, before the war, about 140 ships transited the strait each day. Mm-hmm. So it tells you how little is getting.
Also, by the way, Saudi Arabia may not care as much, I think, that the strait is open or not, because they have a pipeline that goes over to the Red Sea. They have a pipeline, I can't remember what it's called, but it goes over to the Red Sea, so they can still pump sell a decent amount of oil through there as well. Now, obviously, if Iran, decides to use up one of its cards and close the Red Sea, then Saudi Arabia would probably be a lot more would maybe be a little bit more on board for getting these things opened with military force. But right now, I think Saudi Arabia is relatively okay with the situation that exists, because the other Gulf states, their rivals, they're all little rivals, rival vassals trying to make as much money as possible. So when these other countries are unable to sell oil, then Saudi Arabia, by going through that pipeline to the Red Sea, is still able to. They can make even more money, margin wise, because the price of oil is going up, and they're still able to sell.
Out, and the president's in a position right now where I think he needs to show that he is somewhat in control of that strait, because as we heard from Secretary Rubio the other day, the situation that they're aiming for is getting back to making it a free international waterway, which means no tolls and no control by Iran.
Meanwhile, we're waiting to hear from Iran.
That's not going to happen.
To this one-page peace plan. We'll see what they say, if they say anything, which would be telling as well. David Sanger, Michael Allen.
Okay, there we go. So those were, I guess, some updates. A lot of it was stuff we kind of already knew, but I guess they're just going into a little bit more detail about it. The new strikes on Iran are new for sure. Okay, let's go to this one now. This is Iran captures ship. Military takes control of ocean KOL. I'm not sure what that is, in Hormuz Strait. So I guess Iran, and I'm assuming in retaliation for some of the attacks on their on their territory, have potentially captured a ship. Let's see what Al Jazeera has to say about this.
A series of strikes has threatened the ceasefire between the US and Iran. The United Arab Emirates says it's intercepted missiles and drones launched from Iran And its defense ministry said explosions were reported throughout the nation from those operations. Earlier, President Donald Trump had told media...
Okay, well, those, I feel like those are probably Iran. I think I'm done theorizing that Saudi Arabia or Israel were a part of it. Maybe Israel still potentially, but if there's lots of missile strikes or lots of drone strikes or whatever, it's probably Iran that is doing it.
The ceasefire was still in effect after the US carried out a number of attacks on Iran on Thursday night. Explosions were heard over Tehran after air defense systems were activated and intercepted some projectiles. There are no reports of damage in the capital. Iran says Washington breached the ceasefire, but Trump said the strikes were just a, quote, love tap.
They trifled with us today.
They trifled.
We blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle. I'll let you know when there's no ceasefire. You won't have to know. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran. And they better sign their agreement.
Is that a threat of like nuclear fallout? Did he say glow? One glow from or one big? That seems a little bit, not good.
Yes.
Could you give us an update on what is the latest in those talks?
No, it's going. The talks are going very well, but they have to understand if it doesn't get signed, they're going to have a lot of pain.
Well, U.S. Central Command said its Navy came under Iranian missile, drone and fast boat attacks in the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM saying it responded by eliminating inbound threats and targeting Iranian military facilities responsible for attacking U.S. forces. In Iran, state media say 2 drones were shot down near Qeshm Island and Bandar Abbas after explosions were heard in that area. Explosions were also reported in the city of Minab, where the IRGC Naval Operations Centers are located. Iranian media say the situation in coastal cities is now back to normal. The attacks are the latest in a series of strikes from both sides. Iranian forces fired missiles at U.S. ships near the Strait of Hormuz after U.S. forces fired on an Iranian-flagged oil tanker. That was on Wednesday. Well, Iran's military has captured a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. It's called the Ocean Koi. The military says the ship was attempting to disrupt Iranian oil exports. Naval commandos have called the capture a special operation. Iran's foreign minister has...
Ocean Koi. Okay. I think this might just be a mistype or something in the title then. Military takes control of Ocean Koi in Hormuz Strait. Okay.
Commandos have called the capture a special operation. Iran's foreign minister has posted on X in the last few minutes, Abbas Araghchi saying, every time a diplomatic solution is on the table, the US opts for a reckless military adventure. Is it a crude pressure tactic or the result of a spoiler once again duping POTUS into another quagmire? Whatever the causes, the outcome's the same. Iranians never bow to pressure. So let's go to Russell Serder, who's live for us from Tehran. So Russell, tell us more about this ship that Iran's military says it's captured in the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, Nick, so we have a statement directly from the army, Iranian army, and saying that there was a court decision, a judicial order about this ship, the Ocean Koi, and based on that judicial order, the Navy of the Islamic Republic of Iran has seized this ship in the Sea of Oman. And so they are saying that this ship was attempting to disrupt and harm the oil export and interest of the Iranian nation by taking the advantage of the regional conditions now.
Okay, let me hear that part again.
Attempting to disrupt and harm the oil export and interest of the Iranian nation by taking the advantage of the regional conditions now.
Okay, so attempting to disrupt. Yeah, I don't know. This sounds more to me like this is just some tanker that is just. I don't know if they were actually involved in any sort of disruption technique. This doesn't seem like a military ship or anything. So to me, this just seems like Iran maybe punishing America from my perspective. I don't know if this is an American-owned tanker. I don't know who operates it. I don't think they've said that yet. Or like shipper or whatever. I'm assuming it's an oil tanker, but so maybe it was maybe this was a ship that was trying to exit the strait illegally. Like Iran says, American whatever ships, American or America allied ships are not allowed to use the strait right now due to the wartime conditions. So maybe it was one of them who was trying to get through Iran's blockade, and so they were just seizing it. It sounds like they had a judge's order. So there you go.
And he said in this operation, so the commandos and the Marines of the Navy guided the violating tanker to the southern shores of the country and handed it over to the judicial authorities. So now it has been taken to the Iranian shores. And of course, they're warning that any violation is not going to be accepted. But the interesting thing is that, Nick, so according to the records of the U.S. Treasury, the same ship is actually under the U.S. sanctions, and the United States claimed that the Ocean Koi has operated as a part of the Iranian shadow fleet since at least 2020. And according to the same statement, so the Barbados flagged Ocean Koi, owned by Marshall Island-based Ocean Kudos Shipping Limited, has transported millions of barrels of Iranian high sulfur oil and condensate since.
Okay, so that's interesting. I'm curious about that. If it's a part of their shadow fleet, then they wouldn't have gotten it. So I don't know. I don't know if I buy that. Like, why would they capture one of their own shadow fleet tankers if it was trying to get through?
May 2025. So there is quite an interesting case here. So while Iranians saying that this ship was attempting to undermine Iran's national interest and Iran oil reserves, so Americans are saying that actually it's a part of the Iranian.
I think that's probably. I would trust Iran's perspective on this one. I don't. America. This seems like. This just seems like a face-saving thing from America's perspective to me. I don't think that Iran would capture their own shadow fleet tanker. I think that would be dumb. I don't think that they would do that.
A shadow fleet. So in the coming hours, perhaps we are going to have a better and clearer picture about exactly what was the reason that Iranian forces have seized the ship.
And Russell, with all that going on, how are we set with negotiations, with mediation right now? Any sign of progress at all?
Well, indeed, just the foreign minister of the country has tweeted and saying that, anytime when there is a progress in any diplomatic solution or engagement, so always there are attempts somehow undermining this process, whether it's directly by the USA or indirectly by some spoilers. So here, Iranians are confirming that still they are reviewing the U.S. proposal, and the Iranian response is soon going to be.
Every time, this is the FM Abbas Araghchi. Every time a diplomatic solution is on the table, the U.S. opts for a reckless military adventure. Is it a crude pressure tactic or the result of a spoiler, once again duping POTUS into another quagmire? Whatever the cause's outcome is the same. Iranians never bow to pressure.
Be sent to the Pakistani mediators to be conveyed to Washington. So what we know is that Iranian officials are saying there have been some significant progress in this diplomatic engagement, but still there are wide gaps between the position of two countries. So Iranians are saying that we have a three-phase approach. In the first phase, the war must end, and there must be guarantees that it's not going to be renewed, and the guarantees must come from the United Nations Security Councils, then lifting the blockade, then reopening the Strait of Hormuz. However, while Iranians are saying that, the dispute is directly about the new maritime regime that Iran announced about the Strait of Hormuz, and based on that, Iran saying that it is going to keep its sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, and that is now, at this stage at least, one of the main contentious point between the two parties.
Well, like I always say, there's nothing America can do about it. Iran's going to set up his tolling system, and America has to go home sometime. Like, they can't, keep the blockade up indefinitely, without obviously raising a shit ton of taxes for the expenditure. So, which, they'll probably try through austerity, but I don't know how much more austerity they can even do at this point. Okay, well, there's that. So I think we learned a lot about the current material situation in Iran from Al Jazeera and CNN there. Let's go to this one though. I have a feeling we're going to see some classic Western cope on this one. So this is a video that it just caught my eye from France 24 English called "Iran on the Verge of Economic Asphyxiation." Rare footage from Tehran, France 24 English. So the reason that it caught my eye is because I've heard this before. In fact, I've heard this for about like 20 years since we started doing the sanctions regime on Iran. Is just, if we just apply one more sanction, they're going to collapse any day now. Same with China. China's going to collapse any day now. Iran's going to collapse any day now. North Korea is going to collapse any day now. It just seems like every single adversary of America is always on the verge of collapse constantly, and somehow it never happens. So let's watch this video, because I'm sure this time, for real, the blockade 100%, no doubt, this time is going to actually cause Iran to collapse. Anyway, let's watch this video from France 24 English, and we'll try and analyze if it's cope or if it's real.
The Tehran market is practically empty, and traders are at a loose end. This is where January's mass protests kicked off, a place where the economic pain of the war is felt keenly. No shortages in the shops or supermarkets.
Oh, we also, by the way, heard this as soon as Russia invaded Ukraine, that Russia's stores are empty, their economy is going to collapse any day now, and it's been like 5 years. So, that's another one.
But the currency continues to fall. Inflation was already rampant, and in the last year, prices have risen 67%.
I bought 15 eggs and it cost me twice as much as it would have before the start of the war in late February.
Sanaz is an entrepreneur and no longer wears the mandatory veil. Since the war, though, she finds herself unemployed.
Look, that was my online shop, but there's no internet anymore. I'd only just launched my site selling jewelry to customers in the Gulf, but between the economic blockade and the internet outage, I can't work anymore. I've had to stop, like everyone who was working online.
Like thousands of women, she has lost her financial independence. Iran is cut off from its customers, and the US blockade deprives the country of many key supplies. In the underground, workers wonder if their businesses will be the next to go under. One of the sectors feeling the pinch is construction.
But you will notice that there's still there's still people driving around. There's still, a commerce happening. There's still Iran, it just looks like just any normal, to me, this just looks like any normal city, really. So, you'd think that if everybody was destitute, maybe they wouldn't be driving all over town. Maybe they wouldn't be, the grocery stores looked full to me, so, okay. Interesting.
Dozens of building sites have been halted or slowed down. This project has enough to keep going just 2 more months. Mahan, the head engineer, is worried he will lose his job, as 2 million Iranians have since late February.
I haven't been paid a salary in a few months now. Luckily, I have some savings, but I won't be able to hold out much longer, and I don't know what I'll do. Most people...
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There is, going to be economic hardship to some extent. I guess, but the main thing I'm saying is that the Iranians already had to deal with incredible amounts of economic hardship through the sanctions, and they got along just fine. And so this is just another one of those. And also, when you're in a wartime economy, a lot of this stuff doesn't really, things like inflation, things like GDP, a lot of that doesn't really matter that much. What matters is can you, sustain your population, through, either through, direct military investment, like people, temporarily maybe taking time off from their normal jobs to go work at like missile production plants or like create like other stuff for the war effort. Like there's those types of initiatives that can happen. There are lots of ways to prop up your economy when you are in a wartime. That doesn't, it's because it's just like an abnormal situation. So in general, I think that the Iranian people have dealt with this for so long from a sanctions perspective that I don't think that this is really going to change that much.
Well, like me.
And on his break, Mahan mentions the other thing worrying him, the growing shortage of medicines, often imported from abroad.
I had an operation on my thyroid. I'm almost out of my medication and I'm struggling to get hold of any more. When I do find the medicine, it's 4 times more expensive than before the war.
This propaganda poster shows US warships caught up in Iranian fishing nets. Donald Trump, for his part, hopes that the regime will buckle under the economic blockade. Meanwhile, the Iranians are once again...
See, it looks bustling to me. I'm just saying. Maybe this is like just like a nice part of the area or something, but this just looks like a normal, like bustling street. Lots of commerce happening, it appears to me.
Caught in the middle.
Well, after President...
Oh, well, there you go. That was a quick... I didn't realize that we were that close to the end. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm sure that there is some economic hardship from the blockade. I just don't think it's that significant. I'm sure that some things are more expensive. Some things are harder to get. But I wouldn't bet on any sort of economic collapse coming anytime soon. Just from the amount of times I've heard this from Western media and the amount of times that it has never happened. Like, I don't know. I'd never believe anything like that from Western media. Okay, so let's go ahead and move away from Iran. What do I want to do? Let's do some UK stuff first. So
now
okay, so this is a short video, but I haven't been keeping up super heavily with UK politics. I know that Labour is having a rough go of it right now, and that the Green Party is kind of ascending. Is my general high level perspective of the UK politics. The Labour Party, if people are curious, has essentially, it's not like a true Labour Party anymore. It's a like bourgeois liberal party, if I had to describe it. It serves the interests of capital. It does not serve the working class, which is what a Labour Party definitionally is supposed to do. The Green Party, on the other hand, is essentially the new like left-leaning party. Generally speaking, I know the Green Party, or the person who heads the Green Party, has spoken out in support of Palestine, as opposed to Keir Starmer, who has, vociferously supported the genocide throughout the entire time that it has been occurring. And that I think alone gave the Greens a lot of credibility. And so anyway, but also I know that with the descent of Labour in terms of popularity, I know that also this gives an opportunity for, I think, the far right party. I can't remember what it's called again, if it's just the Conservative Party or something. It gives them a chance to really, rise up in power as well. So this is about, I guess, some UK local elections. We're going to see how those are faring and see if they're... if they're giving us any indications on the future of the Labour Party, which I think the future of the Labour Party is like done so, to be honest, without a major shift in its how it runs itself. But anyway, let's see what's going on here. This is Keir Starmer's Labour braces for heavy losses in UK local elections.
Now, in other news, the far right are making gains in England as the results of local elections are counted overnight. The governing Labour Party has lost control of a number of councils. Most results aren't expected until later this Friday, but so far it's looking like a substantial victory for Reform, the party of populist Nigel Farage.
Reform is the far right, I think, in the UK, if I remember correctly.
The national parliaments of Scotland and Wales also voted, with results later on Friday. London correspondent Benedict Pavio has more.
It's the biggest test in 2 years. What happened 2 years ago? It was the general election, UK general election that was won comfortably, very comfortably, by the Labour Party. Some have called it a loveless victory. Very much, Keir Starmer personally, very unpopular. He's been seen as being...
It was a classic, like, bite your tongue and vote for him kind of situation. It was very much like Biden, to be honest. It was everybody, bite your tongue and just vote for Biden. We can't dream for anything better. You're not allowed to want anything better. Just bite your tongue and vote for Biden. Like, that was what we were told. I think it was a very similar situation in the UK. They also have a parliamentary system, so I think a lot of the, they I think convinced a lot of left people who would have potentially voted for the Greens or for other candidates, like convinced them to vote for Labor so that they would have a majority. And then Labor just screwed everybody in terms of their actual policies that they're implementing, like screwed the working class. They have been terrible, is my understanding, like in terms of like austerity. I think like privatizing stuff, I think they're doing a lot of that. Like privatizing public services, like I think they're doing a lot of that. So that's kind of, I think, what happened in 2024.
Keir Starmer personally very unpopular. He's been seen as being very much in tune with public opinion about initially distancing the United Kingdom from those Israeli-US attacks and this war on Iran, and only offering really a defensive help. Of course, heavily criticized by the American president.
Not true. They were involved in some of the offensive stuff, I'm pretty sure. I don't think that they sent any. They might have sent some planes to the region, but I think that they were giving navigational guidance and stuff, if I remember correctly, and logistical support. They were definitely involved to some extent with offensive operations.
Help,
which technically, by the way, means they are a part of the war. Like, they are also at war with Iran because they did that.
Of course, heavily criticized by the American president, as we have seen. But he's been criticized. Well, the cost of living was already a problem, now exacerbated by what is going on in the Strait of Hormuz, is posing a bigger problem. Rise, like in many countries, oil prices, of gas, food supplies and others. So we will see. But the word that's been used a lot and that I can now use and deploy is very much a bloodbath, possibly. Will it be very humiliating? And what conclusions and reparation really will Keir Starmer? And could we hear very quickly?
Oh, yeah. And he also, another thing that's bombing Keir Starmer, or Kid Starver's reputation, was his association with Mandelson and overlooking Mandelson's connections with Epstein.
About some leadership challenges and some candidates who are really chomping at the bit to try and get themselves into Downing Street and replace Keir Starmer. We're not there yet, but we'll see what the...
Now, figures...
Man, they really it's abrupt ending. I was trying to wait for her to finish her sentence, but it like before I paused it, but it just went right into that. Yeah, I mean, not a ton of information about it. It seems more like projections are predicting that it's going to be a bloodbath. Judging by my understanding of how these situations end up going a lot of time, because we just lived through it with Biden, is once you get your, neoliberal centrist in there to hold off fascism for 4 years, immediately after is like even worse fascism. Like, so you get, you get your Trump one, and then you get your Biden candidate who, doesn't actually change anything, just brings us back to normal neoliberalism. And then afterwards you get Trump too. So I'm guessing what's going to happen over there is Keir Starmer, Labor is going to get blown out, and there's going to be, it'll probably be the far right that takes a lot of power. At the same time, though, there is the Greens. The Greens can help mitigate that, because they are offering an actual positive vision of the future. So if they are able to siphon off enough support from Labor, the problem always is, they're going to be splitting, they're going to be splitting power by doing so. And the Labor Party, anytime that there's a power split where the left is like, where the left really made a significant factor in like them winning, they always then turn their backs on the left and say, well, fuck you, you're not going to get any actual power. So but if the Greens have more power than Labor, then they could say, you can form a coalition with us. And this time the Greens could say to them, fuck you, we're not going to do anything you guys want. We're going to govern like we want to govern if they have enough power. So I don't know. We'll see. The one hope I think is the Greens right now. The Your Party stuff with what's his name? I can't remember. The dude who was ousted for anti-Semitism allegations, back when that sort of stuff worked a lot better for being anti-Israel. I can't remember his name right now. I'm blanking. Anyway, his Your Party thing was just a spectacular failure in my book. So I don't think that that's really going to go anywhere. I think that just needs to be absorbed into the Greens at this point. Anyway, there you go. We're going to go to another UK story while we're here. This is from 2 days ago, so it's a little bit old now. But this is just about more fallout from the Iran war in terms of the... I think this is in the UK, but airlines cut 13,000 flights in May. So let's see what this is all about.
Now, figures show that 13,000 flights have been cancelled globally this month due to rising fuel prices caused by the war in the Middle East. Data from the aviation analytics firm Cirium shows that Istanbul and Munich have seen the largest cuts. With me is our business reporter, Essis Carr. Thanks very much.
Maybe it's not just UK flights. I thought maybe it's like global flights. I was thinking it was UK specific.
Coming in. Just tell us more about what these figures are showing.
Well, that 13,000 flights equates to around 2 million seats that have been cancelled. And as you say, aviation is one of those industries that's been most impacted by the conflict in the Middle East, as well as that initial disruption for flights going to that area. There's also been that huge spike in jet fuel prices. Jet fuel has more than doubled since the conflict began. And for lots of countries, the UK included, the Gulf is where they source the majority of their jet fuel, so that's inevitably had some consequences. And some airlines have already announced plans to cut their schedules. The German carrier Lufthansa has said that it intends to cut around 20,000 flights between now and the end of October. Others have said that they're looking at raising ticket prices as a result.
What does that mean for anyone who is planning travel over the coming days, weeks and months? I mean, should they book? Is there a risk of very last-minute cancellations?
Well, of course, what we all want to know is how is this going to affect our own travel plans, particularly in the UK. Half terms around the corner, the summer holidays are on the horizon. And it's important to point out that 13,000 flights, it sounds like a lot, but it's actually out of more than 850,000 flights in May. So really it's around 1.5% of flights. And that's going to include routes that have already been cancelled by airlines, perhaps going to some of those hubs in the Middle East.
That's good context. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, maybe it's not, not the biggest deal, but obviously the jet fuel prices going up specifically are going to cause a lot of, price increases, especially. And also, like they were saying, they're going to probably cut the flights to the less popular areas or the more rural areas or so that always usually has an impact more on lower income people or people who just travel to visit family and stuff or whatever, as opposed to big business boys or whatever who are flying first class everywhere they go. So yeah.
Least. And as you said earlier, it's not evenly distributed. Some routes aren't affected at all. There's quite a few flights from Istanbul and Munich airports. So really, this is probably a case of airlines looking at their schedules, trying to consolidate certain routes, focus on the ones that are going to be most profitable in their busiest and peak periods. And that will include those busy summer holiday routes. So there's a bit of reassurance there that airlines are kind of using this as contingency to kind of make plans for what is going to be their busiest period.
And is it the case that they will be broadly okay for a few months? I mean, at what point does it become very difficult for them?
Well, there have been warnings about jet fuel shortages in the coming months, but the message from Airlines UK, which represents airlines here in the UK, is that the airlines here are operating normally, that there is no problem with jet fuel supply, and the UK government too is trying to reassure people. They've already also taken some action to try and mitigate the impact.
I don't know how jet fuel is processed. I don't know how it's stockpiled and stuff either. So there may be more of a buffer between for jet fuel prices compared to oil, but like it's more like it'll hit later, like the impact of having this product like oil be having shortages of that. It might impact jet fuel, but it might just be at a later point in time. I don't really know how that all works.
Of this, they've said that airlines are going to be able to cancel their
It's definitely impacting prices already, though.
Landing and takeoff slots at busy airports weeks in advance without losing those slots. And that will hopefully avoid some of those last-minute cancellations, which of course can be so disruptive and which everybody wants to avoid during those peak sort of holiday periods.
But is there a fear, from consumer groups that could still happen, for a very busy sort of July and August when a lot of people are travelling?
I think that the message from consumer groups, from holiday companies and airlines, is that people should make their plans and be reassured that everybody is working to try and protect those busy periods. The Transport Secretary
just don't stop buying. Just keep buying things, people, please. That's what they're saying. Whether we raise the prices or not, just keep buying stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to a different topic. This is going to be domestic stuff. We're going over to Fox News World. We're going to listen to Homan. Oh man, here we go. Apparently, Minneapolis wasn't enough, right, people? They did Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis, and the people of Minneapolis successfully fought back against the federal government occupation of their city. The federal government coming in with their guns and occupying the city. The people of that state, fought back, and they were able to push them out. But apparently they're not done. The federal government is coming to a town near you any day now. The federal government is going to come and knock on your door and be like, "Hey, are you a Mexican?" And then if you say yes, then they are going to take you and they are going to throw you into a slave labor camp somewhere around our country or potentially in another country. So get ready, people. Anyway, this is more mass deportations are coming, says Tom Homan. Great. Just great.
Borders our Tom Homan joins us now to continue the conversation. Tom, thanks for being with us here today. If 600,000, 605,000 was the number last year, and you're saying we haven't seen anything yet, what kind of numbers can we expect this year?
Well, look, like I said, we're in the process hiring 10,000 more agents. I think we got about 7,000 on board. We got 3,000 in pipeline through the academy. So we have more resources to do this work. And we're going to continue doing that. We're going to continue to surge resources.
Yeah. Guess what? It's going to look ugly, right, people? We saw what it looks like when you're trying to hit quotas, right? Which is how they're operating right now. They are trying to hit quotas of like a certain amount per day that Stephen Miller hands down to ICE or whatever. And they are trying to search and find people to throw in these concentration camps. Now, as time goes on, this is going to get harder and harder because, number one, people are going to hide more. Like, actual, immigrants, undocumented immigrants are going to find ways to hide and, not go outside for these times, which is going to decimate the economy. But, whatever, they don't give a shit about that. But then also, there's going to be less people, like less people that are even technically undocumented. And so if they're going to need to hit these quotas, like they're trying to do, they're going to start getting real loosey-goosey with who they're going after. And it's not necessarily going to just be undocumented immigrants. It's going to turn into documented immigrants. It's going to also turn into American citizens eventually. And to some extent, it already has. They've already detained tons of American citizens. They've already killed American citizens. But it's going to get a lot worse, especially if they're saying they're ramping it up even harder compared to what they have done already. So just be prepared, people. Be prepared to go out there. Be prepared to protect your neighbor. We gotta do what we gotta do to push these people out. These federal mass thugs coming into, our local areas and trying to take over our towns. Like we don't like that, at least where I'm from.
Especially the sanctuary cities, because we know we have a problem there. So I expect the numbers to increase while the border numbers continue to decrease.
How many do we need deportations, Tom? How many we need to set this country's population back to where it's actually a country of legal citizens?
Millions. Look, they keep using
Jesus
the term
Christ. People don't know what trying to deport millions of people looks like. It looks like the fucking Nazis. That's what it looks like if you're going to try to do this. I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty. There's going to be a lot of, a lot of these camps that are being, are like these concentration camps, or like they're detainment centers that are being built around the country. A lot of these things are going to, it's going to start by they're just going to throw them in there. Then eventually people are going to realize how expensive it is, like they did recently in Alligator Alcatraz, where they realized how expensive it is to actually detain these people indefinitely, which is what they're doing. And then eventually it will move on. Well, if it's this expensive, maybe we can, get some slave labor out of them or something to try and offset the cost. That's how it's gonna go. And then after that, classic Nazi stuff. Everybody who knows about the Holocaust knows what happens next. So, this is long term though. If we keep going down this trajectory, I'm hoping that we can have, I'm hoping that we can have people who are able to actually, fight back against this, particularly in the Democratic Party. They're not giving me a whole lot of hope, but I'm still hopeful that we don't have to go down that direction. But when he's talking about, we've already done 600,000 and we're going to get into millions. It's going to get a lot worse than it already is. And if you thought ICE was despised right now, which it is, just wait until that happens.
I see it all the time. 12 million illegal aliens in the country. We used 12 million 25 years ago. I think it's well over 20 million. So, we're going to do everything we can to arrest as many people we can.
Yeah. The other thing is that undocumented immigrants aren't a problem. They contribute to society. They are a part of the fabric of America. They contribute more in taxes than they consume through welfare. They are literally better for, they are less of a drain on American resources than the average American citizen, if you want to look at it from that perspective. So this just isn't a problem. Eventually people will realize it's not a problem when their lives are still just as terrible. Your life isn't going to be better after this. It's going to probably be worse, because a lot of the labor force that was used to prop up a lot of communities, a lot of different industries, is going to be gone. So, yeah.
Ken?
Man, I'm sorry, I'm front loading this a lot. There's just a lot to say about this particular issue. I'll try and let him go a little bit more this time.
And as for the president, priorities of public safety threat, of course, because they're the biggest danger to the community. But anybody in this country is here illegally. We're looking for them. We're going to arrest them and deport them.
Tom, what do you say to people that say you can't legit?
Why? What good is that? What good does that do for America? Why? Well, tell me why. Like I said, they're better for the American. They're better for the American economy than the average American citizen. So, what are we talking about?
Deport that many people.
I'll give one hell of a shot. I mean, bottom line is we're not going to give up on President Trump's promise to the American people of mass deportations. And look, we're going to do the best we can to enforce immigration law, and that's what we're doing now. We already had a record this past year. I mean, the prior record was the Obama administration in 2012. I actually got an award from President Obama for that. Of course, they don't want to admit it now. That was 409,000. We blew that out of the water, and we're going to blow it again out of the water next year. So, you know, for those who say we can't possibly move that many people, we'll see. We're going to give it our best shot and try as hard as we can to enforce immigration.
Look, this is what happened, right? This is what happened. This is from January, I think, of this year. If I guess it doesn't say what year, but the way ICE is enforcing immigration laws: 57% disapprove, 40% approve, 3% no answer. That's just going to keep going up. It's already incredibly unpopular. It is a very unpopular agency. So it I mean, you're going to get a lot more people out there on the streets as this, if they are truly going to try to ramp this up even more than it already is.
Because we need to send a message to the whole world that, you know, for the non-criminals, most of them here are non-criminals, right? But we need to send a message to the whole world that it's not okay to enter the country illegally.
This dude can barely speak English himself.
It's a crime. Not okay to ignore a judge's order. Just don't commit another crime and we're not looking for you. That's not the message we're sending. If you violate the laws of this country and you're here illegally, we're looking for you.
So not just as it's been described in the past, which was a priority, not an exclusivity, but a priority to focus on quote unquote criminal illegal aliens, those who have committed violent crimes. You're saying, no, we're focusing on all illegal immigrants.
No, they already were. They already weren't giving a shit about that. And the reason that they framed it originally as being that they're going after violent crime or violent criminals was because that polled well. That is a real, like, people don't want obviously violent criminal immigrants on their streets. I don't either. We already have a system that takes care of that, by the way. It's called the police. They handle criminal acts. They put people in jail if they commit crimes. Like whether they are an immigrant or a non-immigrant, that's the job of the police. That's not the job of ICE. However, like that was why they decided to do that. If they are, but now they're openly saying, okay, we're done with that. We're moving on to non-criminal immigrants, which is going to, even like the Joe Rogans and stuff don't like how that don't like that. So like and they're like all the right-wing coded people. A lot of them don't like when, you know, because a lot of right-wing coded people, like when they think about like immigrants, I mean, it's so disconnected in their brain or whatever. They often think like, oh yeah, all these criminals that we just need to get off of our streets, or like they took our jobs sort of stuff or whatever. But what immigrants usually look like, even to right-wing people, is like, I don't know, like Jorge, who works at the at the deli down the street, and like he sells me my ham that I get every day or every week or something, you know, and like then ICE comes in and raids him and he's gone, and then people are like, what the fuck, I like that guy. When it actually hits people, like in a, like most things, when it actually impacts people material, or like what it actually looks like, they don't end up liking it. So yeah, they're not going to like this for sure.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Will, because that's a big misnomer. Other people take words out of context. Look, President Trump has said public safety threats, national security, has had to be the priority because of the biggest threats to this country. However, we said from day one, no one's off the table. So I look at the numbers right now. About 60% of those we are arresting are criminals, 40% are non-criminals. I like that calculation. I think 60 criminal, 40 non-criminal is better than 40 criminal and 60 non-criminal. So we are enforcing law across the board, and the numbers prove it.
Tom, you gave an...
I would be highly skeptical of that as well, by the way. I assume, you know, when they talk about criminal, like, it's probably just like minor things or something like that, you know, like, because if they're looking to deport as many people as possible, then it could be like, oh, we saw you run a red light back there, and then they stop you, and then they're like, oh, you're a criminal now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would be highly skeptical of that.
Interview recently. I don't have a copy of what was said. I don't have a video clip of exactly what was said, but you were asked what will you do? What does the president want to do about the illegal immigrants in this country who may be hardworking? Would you support amnesty? Your response to that was, I'm not going to get ahead of the president. Your response to that was something to the effect of, there are cabinet members talking to the president about that. I believe I've characterized that exchange accurately. Correct me if I'm wrong. But what I'm curious about is what you mean. Are there people in the cabinet advocating for amnesty?
You characterize talking points were taken out of context. That interview, we opened the interview when we talked.
By the way, that polls incredibly well. If you ask people if you want like hardworking immigrants to get amnesty, I think it's like 80% or something. Let me see. Support that. Polling on immigrant amnesty. Well, should I trust Google AI? 70% of U.S. Path to Citizenship, 2024. Gallup poll found 70% of U.S. adults favor. Let me just pull it down here. It's AI overview, so I always say take it with a grain of salt. But 2024 Gallup poll found 70% of U.S. adults favor allowing undocumented immigrants a chance to become citizens if they meet specific requirements, with support rising to 81% for those brought to the country as children. Yeah. So, and like most things, Americans are a mishmash of like conflicting ideologies. So they might also support mass deportation in the abstract when they're polled on that. But when you poll them about amnesty, they'll also support that because, you know, most Americans don't have an ideological consistent position on stuff. So, but yeah, like that is incredibly popular to give people who have been here for a long period of time amnesty.
Talking about policies, talking about where do we go from here, right? Because President Trump did executive orders, had the most secure border ever in Trump 45. President Biden came in, undid it all through executive order. President Trump came back in through executive order. Now we have the most secure border ever in history of this nation.
Question, people. Is your life better now after doing this? After blocking all these immigrants, after deporting all these immigrants, after sending them to El Salvador and various other countries to, you know, get tortured in prisons, to put them into like, slave-like conditions under our prison system, under our detention center system. After terrorizing all of our neighborhoods to send all these people out of our country, is your life now better? Because I'm telling you right now, mine isn't. My like economically, I'm still having, you know, it's still tough out there. The world doesn't, you know, seem like a safer place. The community doesn't seem like a safer place. Like none of this has impacted me in a positive way. Like it's still tough out there. I have a feeling I'm not alone in that assessment. Eventually this sham, this charade, the scapegoating, it will collapse in on itself. Because people will realize that this is not in any way materially impacting their economic conditions. I just hope that it happens sooner rather than later, because like I said, this gets to a very dark place in the future if we allow it to continue.
My first comment was, we need congressional action to solidify this and enshrine this into law, so the next president doesn't come in and undo it all again through executive order. When we're talking about the non-criminal people being here ever, I said discussions are ongoing all the time. For instance, just recently there's been discussion about the dignified.
I've talked enough about this. This guy can barely speak English. He's like slurring all of his words. I don't know if he's drunk or what, but he's having a really hard time with the English language. I think I should probably give him a little courtesy visit, see if he has all of his documentation. Okay, I think I'm gonna move on now. Let's try to get to some fun stuff. This is kind of fun, kind of news. Let's see here. Okay, we're back at Fox News though. So apparently we're getting a new UFO drop, people. A new UFO has a new UFO breakthrough, UFO transparency. has broken containment. Donald Trump is ready to tell everybody about all of the ETs that he has locked up in Area 51, and he is ready to go. No Naruto run required, no storming of the base required. So let's go ahead and see what's going on. This is breaking. Trump releases UFO alien life files from Fox News.
Fox News alert: the Trump administration releasing the first batch of files related to UFOs.
What's that? What's that, people? You might say, one might say that is a little sperm on the end of the video camera, on the screen of, or on the lens of the video camera. You'd be wrong. That is clearly a UFO. Come on, get your head in the right place. Get out of the gutter. That's not a little sperm. That's an alien.
Alien life.
So is the truth really out there?
Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy joins us live with the details. What have you learned, Peter?
Good morning. So a White House official left this hard drive on my desk overnight. You can see on it says AARO files copy 203. That is.
Doocy is such a he's such a funny guy to me because he's such a dork, man. The way he talks, the way he presents everything, he's such a little dweeb. Like his faces, I don't know. Sorry, that's unrelated. Apparently he got a hard drive. Now let's hope this wasn't let's hope they didn't accidentally misplace an Epstein hard drive on his computer or something. That would be bad.
On my desk overnight. You can see on it says AARO files copy 203. That is the all domain resolution office, copy 203. This is the first big batch of UFO disclosure ordered by President Trump. Some of the clips and videos on there have popped up different places before. Some of them.
By the way, it's not aliens, guys. I'm sorry. It's not aliens. Okay. It's not aliens. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It's not aliens. This is CIA bullshit shenanigans. This is them trying to distract from something. I don't know what, if it's just the Iran war. They have some study somewhere that shows strategically releasing UFO information or UFO, whatever, somewhat distracts the public or whatever, because at least Joe Rogan will talk about it for one episode or something, as opposed to the Epstein files or whatever they're trying to distract from right now. So it's not UFOs. If you want to know my honest opinion, I don't think any aliens have ever come to Earth. I think that if there are aliens out there, they are a lot rarer than a lot of people think. I think that the conditions for life are actually incredibly rare. I know that there are hundreds of billions of planets or whatever out there, right? That, theoretically could support life. But I think that people underestimate how incredible Earth is at actually sustaining life. So that's my personal opinion. I think that if there is alien life, it is incredibly rare.
Them have not, and we have been going through this all morning and overnight to try to put together some of the best videos so we can all look at this together. This is a world exclusive right here. So let's go to the first clip. Over the skies of the United Arab Emirates in June 2024. An inverted teardrop with a vertically linear trailing...
No, a little sperm. Come on, douche.
...mass, as described by the War Department, suspended below. The War Department cannot say for sure what this is. It is officially listed as an unresolved UAP report. The next video, over the skies of Iraq, December 2022, moving bottom left.
Really? That little tiny dot? Come on. That's just like a speck of dust in the foreground. I see this shit all the time on my security camera. If I look at it at night, it literally, there's 100 of these each night. It sets off the sensor every time. I had to turn off the sensor because every single one of these little specks of dust does this.
The skies of Iraq, December 2022, moving bottom left to top right of the field of view. All CENTCOM gets from this is an area of contrast. That's what they describe it as. It is officially still listed as an unresolved UAP report.
Also, it could just be someone throwing a baseball, right? From down here. Let's watch the arc again. Let's see.
Next video, over the skies of Greece, October 2023.
Dude, another fucking speck.
A small and circular UAP flying near the surface of the ocean towards land. CENTCOM can't tell us what it is. It is officially listed as an unresolved UAP report. Within the last 2 minutes, all of these videos have gone live on war.gov/UFO, and a White House official tells Fox First, while past administrations sought to discredit or dissuade the American people, President Trump is focused on providing maximum
Maybe that's what it is. He's trying to get like the narrative that he's the most transparent president of all time out there or something. That might be what he's trying to do. I don't know. Like I said, this is classic CIA operation stuff.
Transparency to the public, who can
Like
ultimately
PSYOP.
make up their own minds about the information contained in these files. And there's also a fresh look at some historical records. There's this from Apollo 17 included in this big document dump. One of the astronauts says, we've got a few very bright particles or fragments or something that go drifting by as we maneuver. The control center says, Roger, understood. Another astronaut says, there's a whole bunch of big ones on my window down there, just bright. It looks like the 4th of July out of Ron's window. Another astronaut says, yes, now you can see some of them in shape. They're very jagged, angular fragments that are tumbling. This exchange has long been dismissed as floating insulation, but now the White House is saying, while this photo has been previously...
Dude, they got like a truck backing up in their office. What is that noise?
Released.
Is that an alien? Is there an alien driving a little car or like a U-Haul or something that's backing up? Like, what's going on?
And discussed by keen observers, there is no consensus about the nature of the anomaly. And this all started, of course, because we asked the president about it in February.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. You know,
So aliens are real.
well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. Well, he made a big mistake. He took it out of class.
Get ready for some lawfare, Barack Obama. Can you imagine if Donald Trump, if he sent the FBI after Barack Obama for releasing the classified information that he thinks aliens are real? I mean, there's been a lot of shitty, like, stupid prosecutions from the Trump DOJ. That one would probably be the stupidest. It would be really funny, though. I'm encouraging it. Please, Donald Trump, do it.
Classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it.
I just think that would be the funniest court case of all time.
So the government is trying to answer the question, do aliens exist? And the answer is, they don't know, but in an effort of transparency, they are giving us all of the material that they are working with as they try to answer that question.
All right.
Back to you.
Peter, so many questions. The internet has been ablaze about this for a long time. And one of the things that the unidentified anomalous phenomena people want to know is what the government has collected from belief that these things crashed. There was crash retrieval and that we have some sort of evidence. Is there anything in this batch of released files that would answer that question?
There's nothing in this batch, but we've been told that this is about to become a regular thing because there are hundreds of documents and dozens of pieces of media, videos and photos that are contained on this drive that has just been uploaded to the new website, which is war.gov/UFO. There is nothing like that in this batch, but they are going through and they are working to declassify whatever they can because President Trump told them to. And this is different than when he ordered the Kennedy files to be unclassified and just put everything out all at once. It was millions of pages, a huge file. This is going to come out bit by bit as they work through.
A drip.
You look, we've
a new approach. They're going with a new approach this time. Maybe they feel like they didn't get enough bang for their buck when it came to the Kennedy stuff. So they're trying to, slow roll this one a little bit to hopefully keep people distracted for a longer period of time. I'm going to go use the bathroom, but I'm going to let this video finish.
We've got some stuff from Apollo 17. We've got some stuff from a couple months ago. There's a ton of material, but they want us to know that they are trying to figure this out. They just don't have an answer about whether or not, about what these crafts are.
Peter, what do you think? You're a betting person. Do you think these aliens are friendly?
Should we approach them? What do you suggest if we see them?
You know, you hope that they're friendly. I see a lot of people here at the White House, and I think that looks like it might be an alien. And everybody is pretty nice.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
We'll see where they go. So
people are fascinated with this. Sean just did a podcast about this, the investigation of Bob Lazar, who talks about S4, and so many people are watching it. It's fascinating. But does this pose a national security risk? Our adversaries, because the concern is revealing military capabilities to our adversaries like China and Iran.
Also, what are the Kalshi odds, people? What are the Kalshi odds that aliens exist? I'd be curious. If I were you, I would bet against it, or like that they have come to Earth, I guess.
Russia.
Well, that's exactly it. We don't know what these things are, but so as a reporter in D.C.,
they all just look like those little specks that you get in your eye. Like I forget what they're called. Like I don't know, like the little ghost thingies that you get in your eyes. Sometimes, like if you see a little, like if you stare at a light for a second, or also just as you get older, sometimes I think there's collagen buildup that can make that happen. That's happened to me before. So yeah, that's what it looks like to me. Maybe the lens just has something on it.
In the past 2 years, I've covered the House committee. Remember, they have a UAP committee headed up by Paulina Luna, as well as Congressman.
Okay, I think we're done with this. We're done with this. I have to do this article though that I just found because it's related to something that I am currently playing, which is Slay the Spire 2. And it's also related to Gamergate. So you know what? Let's go ahead and read an article together, people. I don't know anything about this. I just was looking for some articles on the side while that video was playing, and this one caught my eye. So as someone who has been playing Slay the Spire, I've almost gotten the entire timeline completed. I just have to do the Necrobinder guy. I just have to do him, like, I think beat 15 bosses, and I think beat Ascension 1. I haven't done, I've barely played him yet. So I think those are the two that I still have to get. And then I've completed all of the timeline achievements or whatever. But let's go ahead and read this. I can confirm, by the way, that let me read the title first. Slay the Spire 2 is getting review bombed again, this time because of chuds. For those unaware, chuds have the term chud has two definitions. It originally originated from a movie, which was called Chud. I think it was Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers, if I remember correctly. Then it became popularized by the YouTube channel Chapo Trap House, who started using the term Chud to refer to like right-wingers, like dumb right-wingers, right? And then I think nowadays in the modern, like in the youth vernacular, chud just means like a schlubby dude who doesn't take care of himself, or like a kind of loser. Which, to be fair, most of the right-wing chuds are also just, Gen Alpha term chuds as well, or I guess Zoomers probably say it as well. But anyway, so that's what a chud is. And I can confirm, by the way, that it is being review bombed. The most recent reviews say mostly negative. So let's go ahead and see what's going on here. An influx of new players are using Steam reviews to relitigate Gamergate. So this is very surprising to me, because I don't see what on earth could have possibly been even remotely controversial about Slay the Spire 2. Like, what? I mean, I put like 50 hours into it already. Like, I don't understand, but okay. For the third month in a row, Slay the Spire 2 is getting review bombed on Steam. But what, I hear you ask, is the reason for it this time? He did hear me ask. I asked that. Is there a new balance patch? Did they buff Doormaker again or something? I hate Doormaker. My least favorite final boss. I hate it. No, unfortunately, the reason for most of today's 2,525 and counting negative reviews is somehow much, much dumber. Online chuds are mad that media critic and feminist frequency founder Anita Sarkeesian is listed in Slay the Spire 2's credits as a consultant. Okay. My God, dude, as a consultant, first of all, I'm going to be honest, I never read the credits. I skip the credits every single time. I'm not going to remember your names. I have a hard time remembering like important people's names, I don't know, like the cabinet officials of the Trump administration. Like I have a hard enough time with that. I'm not going to remember a consultant on Slay the Spire 2's name. I'm sorry. That's just who I am. So, this seems like you're looking for something to get mad at if you even found this. Back in 2012, Sarkeesian raised just under $160,000 through a Kickstarter campaign to fund a YouTube series titled Tropes vs. Women in Video Games. It critiqued various aspects of gaming and its history through a feminist lens, pointing out uncomfortable truths that often went unchallenged in the male-dominated industry. So this was in 2012. This was like, for those unaware, this was like peak woke one era. But also this was starting to get into Gamergate, the Gamergate backlash sort of stuff or whatever, like that time period. When was Gamergate again? $2014. Okay. So yeah, 2 years later. The series released in 2014 became one of the 3 inciting triggers for Gamergate. Oh, okay. So this was one of the inciting incidents, and has engendered unhinged levels of outrage and resentment in certain reactionary pockets of gaming ever since. Yeah, it's a bunch of losers. Dude, if this gets you mad, like, first and foremost, even if you aren't a feminist, someone just doing an analysis of games, like from a feminist lens, should not in any way anger you. If you are, even if you aren't, if you don't consider yourself a feminist, that you are just looking for things to be angry about online. Yeah, that is ridiculous. I am a feminist, by the way, in case people are curious. The latest evidence of that is how over a decade later, every tier 3 Aspect Gold subscriber heard the activation phrase, Anita Sarkeesian. Okay, so if you want any indicator that I am in no way a reactionary conservative, the fact that I had never heard of this person, or that I'm just a normal person, I guess is more that I should say, if you needed an indicator that I'm a normal person who goes outside and has a life outside of the online world, the fact that I did not know who this Anita Sarkeesian person, her name at all, was before this, should be a good enough indicator that I have a life. Heard the activation phrase on X this week after it was discovered months after release that she is listed as a consultant in Slay the Spire 2's credit. Apparently, these people shot up in their gaming chairs like the Winter Soldier and decided, this is a pretty funny article, and decided the most important thing in their lives was now boycotting the deck building roguelike. I don't think it's going to work, man. I think this is an incredibly popular game. I've talked with multiple people like in real life about this game. I don't think this is going to hurt it at all. Let's see here. The reheated Gamergate leftovers on, like, also, dude, how long do you have to keep this up? This whole Gamergate thing was like 12 years ago at this point, man. Get over it. Go get a fucking job or something, or like go find a new hobby. Like, instead of having a hobby that is just like trying to find anything online that can piss you off about women, like get a real hobby. Like, I don't know, start a Dungeons and Dragons group or something, or like, I don't know, go play basketball or something. Just like do anything else. You're stuck in the past, man. It's over. It's over. 12 years ago, dude. This is insane that you still have this sort of like crazed response to this. The reheated Gamergate leftovers on X first noticed Sarkeesian in the credits around May 5th. 2 days later, the Steam review rating for Slay the Spire 2 is down to 61% positive. Unlike the 2 previous waves of review bombs, which primarily stemmed from Steam accounts based in China, this new round of negative reviews is actually affecting the game's score in multiple regions, since the majority of complaints are written in English. And you know, for all the grief I gave folks in China for review bombing the game, at least they'd actually been playing the game. A bunch of the new negative reviews on Slay the Spire 2 from May 7th appear to be from people who only bought it in the last 24 hours, seemingly just so they could leave a negative review before immediately refunding it. I think that they should not allow you to do this on Steam, to be honest. You shouldn't be allowed to get a refund after you review the game. Am I wrong? Like, if you review the game, that is an indicator that you actually like purchased it. Like maybe that's not true, because there are certain situations where a game is just busted, right? Like a game is busted, it's unplayable. And so you should be able to, I think, refund it and leave a negative review if you so choose in that particular circumstance. So never mind. I take it back. You should be able to do that. However, I mean, this is obviously just taking advantage of that system. That's not an exaggeration, by the way, as you can see from the image above. That's an ad. Product refunded, product refunded, product refunded. Yeah, they're all refunded in that image, at least. So how much impact did Sarkeesian's consulting actually have on Slay the Spire 2? Surely if everyone is so mad, it's at least over how her input allegedly changed the game, right? Nope. Of course not. Nobody except Megacrit knows the answer to that. And even the anti-woke grifters have yet to point out anything in the deck builder that they can pretend to take issue with. Likewise, we don't know how much Slay the Spire 2's other two credited consultants, David Von Duro and Tony Moore, impacted the game either. Yet for some reason, the losers on X don't seem to be mad at those two guys. I wonder why. Spoiler alert, it's because they're men. Also, they aren't the trigger word for these people, as you mentioned before. Sarkeesian apparently is a trigger word that just causes people, the worst people on the internet, to just explode with rage. It's the easiest trigger word that you could ever find. You know, if you want to talk about like getting triggered and stuff, this is how you do it. Say the word Sarkeesian amongst, you know, a reactionary in your neighborhood and see what happens. It can be a fun game. Maybe they can start adding Sarkeesian's name to like every game credit just to troll these people. That's what I would do. I would just say inspired by Sarkeesian, like, and then see if I was making a game, I would just put that in my credits just to see what happens with these fucking losers, just to troll them. Let's see what the customers. What is the value to customers of including reviews for games with 0 time played in the aggregate? Yeah, so that was what I said. Outside the game not running due to technical problems, that's the main problem. I do think that you should, in general, have to at least play some of the game, right? Like maybe it doesn't even have to be that much. Maybe like an hour or two before you can review. But yeah, obviously, if it's a completely unrunnable situation, that's different. – 12 years later, and these people are still are somehow still 12. That's pretty funny. Okay, it seems like everybody's generally just ragging on these people who are like living in the fucking past. Like they're reliving. I get the vibe that these people are like that dude from Napoleon Dynamite, who is like constantly reliving his high school football days, where he like says, I bet you I could throw this football over that mountain or whatever. Like he is constantly living in the past. You know, I feel like these people, the Gamergate, like, you know, the stupids out there who still are like believing or like still are getting triggered about Gamergate stuff. I just think they're reliving the glory days where they had like a lot more influence. Now I think most people, like most normies at least, because at first this kind of like the Gamergate stuff did have some sort of impact on the rest of gaming, right? Like people had to like a lot of normies thought that they had to take these people's considerations seriously at first, right? Just normal gamers thought, okay, well, there seems to be this big controversy. Let me hear them out or whatever. And, you know, it was during the era of Woke One where a lot of people were just, I think, sort of annoying about their politics, like from woke politics perspective, even if they, even if their hearts were in the right place, they were kind of cringe, right? And so a lot of people were like, okay, well, maybe they have a point. The Gamergate people, maybe they have a point. At this point, though, the people who are complaining about this sort of shit are so much more annoying than even the cringiest woke person from Woke One. They're so much more annoying. They're so much more cringe. And I think everybody's starting to realize we don't have to take this shit seriously anymore. So now these losers are just living in the past, reliving the glory days of when they had even a tiny amount of relevance. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. So anyway, there you go, people. That's my opinion on the matter. As someone who plays the Slay the Spire 2, I think I am particularly qualified. For someone who plays Slay the Spire 2 and commentates on politics a lot, I think this was a perfect article for me to guide everybody through and tell you my opinion on. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the X.com portion. We'll scroll around on X. We'll see if we can find anything. And then I'll get out of here. Okay. Politics poll and poll tracker. Breaking news: the Supreme Court of Virginia has struck down new congressional map that Virginia voters passed last month. So Virginia, by the way, this is all around redistricting gate. This is gerrymander gate, where the bars are off, right? The training wheels are off. We are race to the bottom. Whoever can redistrict the harder and the most is going to win in this new world. So as a consequence of that, Virginia, they put up a map that was gerrymandered to give Democrats a 5-seat advantage, I believe. And it was passed. It was passed by the people. The people voted for it in Virginia. It passed, I think, relatively closely, 52-48 or something. And then the Supreme Court of Virginia has struck it down because of gerrymandering. Now it's funny, none of the red states, none of their gerrymanders have ever been struck down. But this one time where the Democrats did it, in order to counteract some of that, it is struck down. So Hassan says, the VA Supreme Court denied the results of the redistricting referendum. SCOTUS gutted the Voting Rights Act in Tennessee, carved up the last Dem district, destroying black voter power in the state. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. That is true. That is true. If you're going to keep doing this, if you're going to keep disenfranchising people by doing this and taking away the will of the people, you are making violent revolution necessary. Every act like this is taking us one step closer to violent revolution. Now, I'm sure these people do not think about it that way. I think that the Supreme Court of Virginia, they probably think they're going to all be completely fine by doing this sort of stuff that is essentially cementing right-wing reactionary control of our country for the foreseeable future. They will not be fine, okay? The more you do this, and the less you allow Democrats to play on the same playing field that Republicans have been playing on for decades at this point, the closer you get to violent revolution. I'm not the one who makes the rules. This is a basic part of the human condition. There is no stopping it. No matter what you try to do, you can try to surveil people. You can try to you can try to crack down on any sort of dissent. You can get your police state, give them all the weapons in the world, all of the tools in the world, to all the AI, facial recognition software in the world. You will not be able to stop a violent revolution if you continue to suppress the will of the people. It will never happen. The people will always win in the end. So that is my thoughts on that. UFO files released. We already talked about that. Okay. Protesters swarmed the Tennessee state capitol in Nashville in response to the newly passed congressional map that's likely to flip the state's final Democratic seat. Despite vocal disruptions from Democratic lawmakers, the Republican, blah, 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 the new map targets, so they got rid of the black, or they got rid of all black representation in their state. Classic racist shit. I don't think it's always like, I don't know if it's going to actually work out the way that they say it does, though. I really don't. Like it does suck that black people won't be represented. Don't get me wrong. However, there's only so much you can gerrymander, and there's only like before, like that like, because they're also gerrymandering off of information from like 2-4 years ago. We're getting to a point where Trump is so unpopular and the Republicans are so unpopular with anyone remotely not in the cult that that this sort of stuff could end up backfiring itself as well. And so, you know, and like Hassan said up above, if the more you know, the more you take away the will of the people and the more you disallow the majority from actually holding power, the closer you get to violent revolution. So, you know, there's that as well. You can only control people so hard. So yeah. By the way, the judges who did this, the Supreme Court that did this, the state should just ignore them. Who cares? Who cares what these judges think? The people wanted it. The people voted on it, and the people wanted it. So who cares? They should just ignore them. We need to start doing that. Just ignore them. And let the federal government come in and try to do something about it. Let Trump send in the fucking, you know, the Army Reserve or whatever. He's kind of busy with Iran right now. He probably doesn't want to deal with that shit. Force him to. And then when he does, use your own state, you know, state forces to push them back, you know, violently if necessary. Just enforce, you know, it's the states who are allowed to run the elections, and the Congress approved this, and I don't give a shit if the Supreme Court or the state Supreme Court decides that it's not legal. I don't care. I don't care if the people can vote on something directly. I think it should overrule any sort of court decision, to be honest. If the people want it, it should happen. That's how democracy is supposed to work. Anyway, what are we doing? What are we doing today? What the fuck? Let's see if this is real.
Congratulations to the Ecklers. We're ready for either baby number one. Oh, everything's neutral. Yeah. Got both names ready.
That, oh god, he's such a creep, dude. Did he really do that? Oh my god. I don't know who that is. Anissa, that's
baby number one.
That's his used to be friend, content cop dude. I think his wife, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's fucking weird. Let's see what this is.
These are families that have been deliberately targeted. You could call an accident when it happens once or twice. This happened every single day I was there. And having children and families come in maimed, you know.
I think this guy, by the way, was a doctor in, Dr. Adam Hamaway for New Jersey. I think he was a doctor in Gaza. So he knows, you know, about the suffering in there more than anybody around.
Dismembered. Yeah. I'm paying for this with my own tax dollars. And I come home and people don't believe what's happened. And I witnessed it with my own eyes and I took care of these children. I felt guilty that I got to leave and we had to leave Palestinians there. They can't get out. They have to live with this every single day. And I'm paying for their misery. And so I had to go to Washington and start talking about it. It was just as important as taking care of the children with my own hands there. It's just as important as operating. We actually have to say stop. We have to stop funding it. We have to, this is not just like a foreign war. This is our money that we could be using in our communities. We could be using it to fix our healthcare system, our education. We could build roads. We could actually have like a high-speed rail system.
This is an unfortunate aspect of campaigning in America, is that you have to tie, you know, moral atrocities back to how it impacts people's bottom line or like their pocketbook, because we are so insulated from the actual consequences of war in America, that most people, like the most that they ever have to even think about the war is like the gas price went up or something, or like our infrastructure isn't, needs to be improved. Like you unfortunately can't just like tell people this is a moral atrocity and we should not be engaging in it, because most Americans are incredibly selfish and do not really care about a moral atrocity. They just care about how it impacts them. I'm not saying all, obviously, but I think on average, most Americans only really think in terms of how it impacts them personally.
This is our money that we're spending over there to just create misery and, commit atrocities that we're supposed to be preventing.
Yeah. There you go. Governor Gruesome Newsom posting on X again. Okay. This is in Tennessee, where they gerrymandered away the last black district. Yeah. Yeah. Guys, this is, we're getting to a point where people are going to be so unrepresented that yes, it's going, like, we're getting to a very perilous time in American politics, I would say. We'll see if we can turn it around non-violently. I hope that we can. I'm praying that we can. But there may be a time where it just turns into revolution, which will, there'll be upsides at the end of that, but it'll be rough. What is this? Oh my God, dude. What, the brothel shit? Why do people care about this? Why do people care if Hassan went to a brothel? Like, what? That's like, I don't know, man. That's like crazy person stuff. I don't care, man. I don't care. It was legal. He was in a country where it is legal to pay for sex work and go engage in that sex work. Or like engage with sex workers in that way. You can make an argument, like, I guess that, like, we don't want to do things that, like, force people or coerce people into engaging in sex work. That's a societal problem or whatever. But like, engaging with that industry when you're in a country where it's legal, I don't really see any problems with that. Oh, what? We don't need to ask that question. It's time to ask the question: would MAGA kill their fellow Americans if Trump told them to? Yes, obviously. They already tried on January 6th. They tried that in Trump 1. I think they're even more, insane this time in Trump 2. What is this? Zay Squirrel.
You know why? I think that's because of maids.
What are maids?
Maids, as in helpers.
Helpers.
I think you'll find that actually, if you look at Singapore, a lot of women are in the workforce. And the reason why that is so is because everybody's got a maid looking after their child at home. So maids are kind of like the opiate of the masses.
Yeah, but an opiate keeps you slothful and lazy.
Exactly.
When you have a maid, and you're saying it frees you up to join the workforce.
Frees you up, but it also means that my husband now doesn't know how to serve himself water.
Yeah.
He goes,
That sounds like America. A lot of American husbands are pretty baby-like. They're pretty infantile. They need someone to do everything for them.
Laundry?
Sorry?
Can you do laundry?
No.
Laundry what? Really? Does everyone here know how to do laundry?
We know how to iron.
4 days ago. 4 days ago? Yeah. Well, you sent it to the butler? No. I enjoyed it one. Yeah. I live by myself in New York.
I didn't know Anthony Bourdain lived by himself. I guess I just assumed he was married.
I have to tell you, maybe it's a sickness, maybe it's a weird thing. I enjoy throwing my clothes into the washer and then moving them to the dryer. It's a process that makes you feel very satisfied with myself. Therapeutic. No. I feel very self-reliant. You know, listening to you people, I gotta tell you, I want to like go out and join the Communist Party. It's like bourgeois, man. You're living off the labor of an oppressed underclass. Yeah.
What country was he in here? Was this Singapore, did they say, or something? Interesting. Bourdain, he was a communist, apparently. Temporarily. He wanted to be one temporarily in that video. Okay, drop site. We got something. Is this new? Jean-Luc Mélenchon, French presidential candidate and leader of France's largest left-wing political bloc. We do not forget a single one of the 10,000 Palestinian prisoners who endure hell in the jails of the supremacists in Netanyahu's government. I also did a horrific coverage of some of the terrible atrocities that are occurring in those prisons yesterday. So yeah, it's awful. Our duty is to be at the forefront of those fighting against the genocide in Gaza and the massacres in Lebanon. Our thoughts to go to those who took the risk of boarding flotillas to Gaza. Netanyahu's Navy committed an act of piracy against these vessels. They did. It was against the law. I mean, since I read the stuff, I don't know if I'm going to watch the video though. William Lawrence, I don't know much about him. Mogler. Pope Leo the 14th, originally from Chicago, wearing Nikes in the trailer for the Leon Roma trailer by Vatican News. He's wearing some Nikes under his... Doesn't that seem wrong? Am I wrong? Like, that seems that seems wrong. Shouldn't the Pope be wearing something? If you're wearing all this fancy clothes on top, I feel like you can't be wearing Nikes. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Who makes these random age limits? 21 to drink, 18 to vote, and how come if a kid graduates college at 16, he's a genius? But Tracy Lords does some fantastic films at 16, and suddenly it's wrong. It's against the law.
I didn't quite understand what he was talking about there. Okay. Okay, yeah. Every election, if you had to pass a civics test in order to vote. This is by the way, I mean, I know that this is kind of like a joke or whatever. However, it is like we should never require any sort of test to vote, in my opinion, because that will not be used in the way that you think it'll be used. It's going to be used to disenfranchise, generally speaking, poor people. But like also people, people of color, and underrepresented people in general. Any sort of test, I don't necessarily know if it would turn out how he thinks here. I think that it would just end up being weaponized to increase the amount of partisanship, or like the amount of the disenfranchisement. That's the word I was looking for in our country. What's this?
So
Brianna Joy Gray. Is this counterpoints or whatever her name is?
To think that the solution to
ContraPoints. It says it on here. Okay, let's see what ContraPoints and Brianna Joy Gray have to say in this interview.
So you seem to think that the solution to this is to like for if the Democrats pivot to the far left, that there's this like available
the far left
base. Well, by Democratic
not
Party
supporting a
standards,
genocide is far left
by Democratic Party standards.
Well,
I mean,
isn't that quite the admission?
Well,
Isn't that quite the admission that we have a far-right Democratic Party if something like ending a genocide is considered to be far left?
That's a good point. That is a good point. That should be a very center of the road opinion. I think that should be like everybody should be on board for that. I think that should be a common sense just position to be opposed to genocide.
Well, I don't think necessarily that particular issue, but you've said, I mean, so
Medicare for all, raising the minimum wage.
Common sense positions. That's me. That's what I support. And I call myself an apolitical streamer. I am a common sense apolitical streamer who believes in things like Medicare for all and a unions for all. I believe in free college for all. And I believe in ending the wars. And I believe that Israel is committing a genocide. Just a common sense, just very common sense positions that I think everybody can get on board with. I also believe in seizing the means of production, eliminating capitalism, just very common sense positions that I think, if you let me explain it to you, I think I can get you on board.
I don't know. To be clear, I don't necessarily think any of that is far left, right? But like,
it's populist. It's centrist politics.
But your position seems to be that like there's this sort of like available untapped voter base that will manifest if the Democrats run on these issues.
She's not very charismatic, is she? In these interviews she gives me like I don't know, she gives weird vibes in her interviews. Like she doesn't have that riz.
But why doesn't that voter base manifest in the primaries, I guess is my question.
Well, you refuse to acknowledge the riggedness of the primaries.
Yeah.
You refuse to acknowledge. So I don't know what to tell you.
That the primaries are rigged, but I just
feel it's not my position. It's the people who rigged the primaries position. They are openly admitting it at this point, Natalie.
I feel the argument that the primaries are rigged is like, I feel like the evidence does not rise to the level where I feel like rigged is an appropriate description for what happened.
Well,
oh my gosh. Semantics, dude. I hate semantics people. I hate people who their argument is like, well, I don't know if the technical definition of rigged has been met. Like that is the most annoying type of argument out of any argument that you can make.
Frankly, I use the phrase finger on the scale when I first brought this up in our conversation. Yeah. Oh, so I don't need to use the term. I mean, if that is just a semantic issue, then we don't have to use that word.
Because people who are losing an argument, they very often retreat into semantics. Like, oh, you technically, I mean, I guess I wouldn't technically say it is particularly this word that I would describe it as. Like that is a very classic, retreat from the actual topic of conversation into getting into, semantic, like who gives a shit stuff.
Okay. So again, to go back to 2020, okay, so there's a sort of minor conspiracy of of center left candidates dropping out so that Joe Biden gets all of the voters available to that. That strategy simply would not work if the more progressive candidate Bernie Sanders had, if there were just simply more voters for the progressive candidate than there were for the center left candidate. But that turned out not to be the case.
Yeah, I think, there's a few things that happen. As you are aware, many fewer people vote in primaries than in general elections, and it tends to be more plugged in conventional media, mainstream media, watching folks who are tuned into their MSNBC every day. And exactly the people who are getting the overwhelming message that someone like Bernie Sanders is not electable, which we know not to be true.
Yeah, and this is changing right now. The average MSNBC wine mom is changing their opinion right now. That they are starting to recognize that Bernie Sanders was the viable option in 2016. And in 2020, that Bernie Sanders could have potentially prevented Trump too by governing effectively as a democratic socialist. Like these are things that are changing now. But the mainstream media and MSNBC in particular had a stranglehold on messaging when it came to liberals in particular back in the day. And so when they went out and told people that Bernie was unelectable, people bought it. And that was a big problem. Nowadays it's starting to go away. But don't get me wrong though, the DNC still has a huge amount of leverage and power over the primary process in terms of especially funding. you're the only way to make it as a actual like radical, and I'm using radical in terms of American politics, because to be honest, people like Bernie Sanders and people like AOC and people even like Zoran are not radical in the grand scheme of politics. Like they are very center of the road social democrats, like in terms of how they govern, in terms of their policy perspectives. They are not like actually doing like advocating for a radical redistribution of wealth, like seizing every dollar over, say, $100 million of every billionaire or whatever, like on day one, and just immediately redistributing it to the American people, or like taking over Amazon, for instance, like just seizing Amazon on day one of your administration and being like, this is now a government owned and operated, owned and operated service or something. Like they're not doing any actual like radical stuff in what they govern. They're very middle of the road. They've just been, by American standards, they're treated as radicals. But the MSNBC has been slowly losing its grip on the messaging, and they're losing control, and the people in power are starting to lose control over the electability argument. So I think in the future, we have a chance here in 2028 to get like an actual, populist or left populist elected. I think a really good chance. But we'll see.
But this,
in terms of the head-to-head polls
this
with
is
Trump.
a problem that that ought to be solvable by generating energy to vote for more progressive candidates in primaries, right?
Now we're talking about the same thing.
If it's like Kamala Harris's fault that she lost in 2024, then isn't it also kind of Bernie Sanders' fault that he lost in 2020?
What do you mean? How do you mean?
Well, by failing to generate the energy or to
Well, yes, but
I mean, in a sense, it was his failure to generate enough energy to win in the primary. But again, he, like she was saying, he was up against a lot in 2020 and in and 2016, right? Hillary, yeah. Like he was up against a lot during those ones, like I just mentioned, all the things that the DNC does to make it hard for a person like Bernie Sanders to get elected. Kamala Harris, though, was the anointed one. She was the one who got all of the backing. She was anointed into that position by the DNC. She was picked and chosen and given unlimited money to run whatever type of campaign she wants. And she decided to run the worst possible campaign that has ever existed. I'm like, at first it wasn't that bad, right? At first she started with like, oh, we're going to be the party of joy or whatever. We're going to be the party of Brat Summer, which, okay, like, it's not what I would want necessarily, but I understand that is a good, somewhat good counter message to Trump's, like the weird stuff that they were talking about, Trump and Vance and all of them or whatever. But what did she do after that, right? She pivoted to the center, like all of her consultants told her to, like all of the, overpaid consultants that she spent that ungodly amount of money on. They all told her to pivot to the center and start palling around with Liz Cheney. Okay, who does Liz Cheney represent now, by the way? Oh yeah, nobody, because she got ousted for being a never Trump Republican in Trump's Republican Party, right? And nobody on the Democrat side wants to hear from Liz Cheney because her husband's a fucking war criminal who should have been locked up in The Hague. Okay, great decision there. And then she goes out and says she's going to have the most lethal military in the world. Okay, yeah, you're just like you are now. So she took all of that money and she just like wasted it so hard, and she did every single move that she did. Oh, and she didn't distance herself from Biden at all, who was becoming incredibly unpopular, particularly around the issue of Israel-Palestine. There's that too. She really just squandered and floundered everything. And so she does deserve to be like, we should be able to criticize her for that. And also, God help us if she gets anointed into being the Democratic representative, like in 2028. I mean, at that point, just end it, man. At that point, the U.S., like the project of U.S. democracy or whatever, is just over. So yeah, anyway, There you go. Well, I guess I'll finish off this video at least. I was pouring some coffee too there, by the way.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Campaign in South Carolina or whatever we think is the condition that Bernie would have to meet to win.
The problem of how to overcome the media, and I don't want to overstate, I really want to say it was like $70 million worth of earned media that came out of Biden's South Carolina win. Like, Bernie out fundraised everybody in the race, but there's only so much you can do about the entire media infrastructure hailing Joe Biden as the king of the blacks and the ultimate winner of the election after winning one southern state.
Well, he's got corn pop. He's got corn pop on his side. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of funny. Biden was a pretty racist dude, by the way. If you go look at his history, his past, he's pretty racist, man. So that's a kind of funny line that they gave for him.
Joe Biden is the king of the blacks and the ultimate winner of the election after winning one southern state that's a red state that actually has no bearing on the outcome of the general election, right?
There you go. I don't really watch this Brianna Joy Gray person. She seems like she has I mean, secretary for Bernie Sanders, former senior politics editor at The Intercept. I love The Intercept. Okay, I'm going to give her a follow. She seems good. ContraPoints, I know, is like she's going through it right now. I think because this is internet drama slop time. ContraPoints, I think that she was quiet about the Palestinian genocide or something, or the genocide against the Palestinians, and then she is kind of going the reactionary centrist route now, is my understanding. Obviously the genocide of the Palestinians is not drama slop, but in terms of her positioning now in the online media ecosystem of how she's trying to position herself, that is kind of drama slop. So yeah, I don't know. This was a pretty good interview. I liked it. I guess I should like it if I liked it. What's this?
One of your
more Abdul El Sayed content. Let's see what this guy's what's going on here.
opponents, Mallory McMorrow, recently said she was the only candidate in the race who had called for the ousting of Chuck Schumer.
I've been asked multiple times at events, would you support Chuck Schumer? And I've said no. And it is stunning to me that neither of my opponents can give a definitive yes or no on that simple question.
I'm the only candidate that Chuck Schumer wouldn't be okay with winning. I've said very clearly that my number one pick for majority leader.
Yeah, this is just, man, dude, rhetorical shenanigans. She doesn't like the way that, like the words that Abdul used to answer this question, or like she's trying to pretend like what he said is that he actually supports Chuck Schumer. Abdul is not aligned with Chuck Schumer whatsoever. Number one, he's Muslim, right? Like, Chuck Schumer is like a Zionist, like, so he has an inherent hate for brown people because of that fact. Number two, though, like the brand of politics that Abdul El Sayed represents is the insurgent progressive, like the kind that is coming after the actual power of Chuck Schumer. Mallory McMorrow is just another standard centrist, like neoliberal Democrat who's going to fall in line and do whatever Chuck Schumer wants. So regardless of the rhetorical shenanigans that they're trying to do here, Abdul El Sayed is way better.
Leader would be Senator Chris Van Hollen, who I think is phenomenal. I think he is an incredible legislator, and I would love to see him as Senate Majority Leader when we win. So I'm telling you who I want my alternative to be and who I'm going to be supporting. And that should be the answer that you take, which is actually an answer to a coherent question, which is who do you support for Senate?
Yeah, because I think the way that Abdul El Sayed phrased it was, I don't, like, he said, I don't want to talk about like not supporting somebody. I'd rather talk about supporting, like, who I would prefer to be in that leadership role, because he thinks it's irrelevant. Like, his argument is that it's irrelevant to say, oh, I don't want this person in. You should be talking more about who you do want in that position. That was how he phrased it. I mean, I don't know if that was the best way to phrase it, to be honest, because it gives an easy attack for these types of people, based on just rhetorical, just rhetorical arguments. But yeah, that's what he said. And just based on the policy positions and how McMorrow sent a paper to AIPAC, a policy paper to AIPAC, we know exactly how she's going to govern if she ever gets elected. And Abdul El Sayed is, APAC wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. So that goes for something. Okay, I'm going to try to find something funny, then I'm getting out of here, people. Okay. This is from Astrapricity. That is a crazy name. Or that's hard to pronounce for me. Hassan's racist British news lady impression is so scarily accurate. I thought this was still her bitch ass talking. Okay, let's see what this is about.
If you don't call this a heinous Islamic crime, a jihad, which I'm sure people that look like you love, right? Muslim man, right? Then you're a heinous anti-Semite, which I already knew.
I mean, Hassan is incredibly good at accents. I can't deny that. I've tried to do accents. I'm bad at accents. My accents are pretty terrible. I do a Trump occasionally. It's pretty bad. I don't know. I've done a couple. I've tried a couple accents because I feel like you got to have like some accent game on like YouTube or on streaming because it's like entertaining to some extent to read things in a different funny way. But Hassan's is on a whole other level. He's got like Irish, he's got British, he's got German, he's got Iranian. Like he's got like every accent you could possibly imagine. He's even got like mixed accents too, like a person from like Lebanon who moves to Britain. Like he'll do like weird accents like that too. It's like crazy.
Because you're brown and Muslim, I expect you to be anti-Semitic. That's why you would vote for an anti-Semitic Jew like Zach Polanski, the chief architect of anti-Semitism. Perhaps worse than the Ayatollah, who you love and admire, I assume. Okay,
well, I've had enough. Anyway, that was pretty good. Okay, Department of State. I assume, yeah, the State Department. Okay. America will always be a nation that calls to God in prayer. Going full religious governance structure now, I guess. We're you know what? We're co-opting. We've been co-opting a lot of the Iranian rhetoric and stuff. Like sometimes Iran will say, we're going to set up a blockade. And then America's like, no, we're going to set up a blockade. And then Iran. So I guess now Iran's like, we have a government that is organized by the Ayatollah and our religious clerics. And then America's like, no, we have a government that's organized by religious government and clerics. So I feel like that's the direction we're going. Okay. World Health Organization. Hantaviruses are zoonotic viruses. Oh, I talked about hantavirus like way before it was really popping, I guess. My video title, I think, was really funny. I called it, Don't You Wanta Hanta? Come on, that's pretty good, right? Anyway, but I talked about it a little bit. My understanding of it is that it is transferred through rat feces. Like airborne, it's through rat feces. Otherwise, it's through bites and stuff, I think, which biting is a notoriously terrible way to transfer diseases. Let's watch this video, though. Let's see, because I think that there is a possibility of human-to-human transfer, which if that's the case, then there's more of a chance that it actually could be an outbreak or something. But let's watch this. Oh, whoops. This is from the World Health Organization, which I trust a lot more than America's Health Department or whatever under RFK Jr. Is there audio? Oh, nope, it's not audio. We'll just read. Hantaviruses are a group of viruses that naturally infect some rodents and can occasionally infect people. Hantaviruses are present in some rodent species, mostly in the Americas, Europe, and Asia. The diseases vary by virus type and location. People usually get infected through contact with infected rodents or their urine droppings or saliva. Limited human-to-human transmission of the virus has been documented in some outbreaks. That's the thing. That's the thing that could be bad. If it becomes more of a human-to-human transmission from like particularly from like respiratory, like breathing or coughing or sneezing or whatever, right? If that ever happens, then it could actually be more dangerous. Early symptoms often feel like many other common illnesses. When people do get sick, symptoms usually begin 1 to 8 weeks after exposure. Fever, headache, muscle aches, stomach pain, nausea, vomiting. While infections are rare, hantaviruses can cause severe illness in some cases. Okay, let's move on to the next one. How to prevent. Keeping living and workspaces clean, sealing openings where rodents can enter. I got a squirrel problem right now. I might have to call someone to get that filled up. Somehow they're getting into our walls from the roof. So, storing food securely, using safe cleaning methods if rodent droppings are present. Also in our crawl space, there's probably some rodent droppings up there. So, but I always wear. I assume that it can protect from it. I always wear a like a ventilator whenever I go up into the crawl space above my house. So I assume that would be good at preventing it, but I don't know. Early intense. Also, this is from squirrels from like last year, if anything. So maybe I'm assuming there's not a likelihood that they're contaminated. Early intensive and supportive care by trained health workers makes a real difference in saving lives. There's no licensed specific antiviral treatment or vaccine for hantavirus. No vaccine. There you go, people. That's your hantavirus update from the World Health Organization. Okay, I'm trying to find something funny so I can get out of here. Okay. Drop site news and the Iranian. Oh, this is a response. Okay. Red Delicious says, I'm trying to see something. Which news outlet do you trust the most? Fox News Channel, MSNBC, CNN, ABC News, NBC News, CBS News. And then Abier says, drop site news and the Iranian Lego team, which is pretty good. I like that response. Yeah, I mean, I don't inherently trust any news source, even the ones that I like The Intercept and stuff, or Drop Site. I trust them a lot more, but I always take everything. I always take everything anyone says with like a grain of salt, and always, I always try to analyze things to see where their perspective is. I firmly believe, though, that you should not watch stuff or read stuff from sources that are biased, because most sources are biased in some way or another. I think that you should still read biased sources, but you should, use your critical thinking to understand what their biases are, and in that way you can, get more out of it. That's what I believe. I might have to end it with this one, okay? This one really, really made me laugh. It says, I come when cops die. I don't, okay? For the record, I do not. I don't come when anybody dies, okay, people? But it is a funny statement. It is a funny statement. I'm going to give it a like. That was pretty funny. Pittsburgh graffiti. I'll give it a follow. We'll see. I usually give people, if I like their stuff, I give them a follow, and then if I start to get annoyed by them, then I unfollow them again. So I think I'm going to call it with that one, people. I think that was a pretty good one to end it on. It got a big old chuckle out of me. I hope that you guys, I hope everybody out there enjoyed the stream. I certainly enjoyed streaming all over you people. And if you're watching the VOD, love you too. That is it. That's all I got for you. This has been Technically Clay, and the stream is technically over. Bye-bye.